Welcome, everyone. I am here with today's guest, Huck. And Huck has a whole heap of experience in the HVAC industry, sales, learning every day, every week, every year for how many years now, Huck?
I started in this industry in 2015.
2015. With 2025 now, so right at the 10-year mark. And I am very excited to be getting to dive deep on kind of how just different aspects of the HVAC industry, sales. But before getting started, I want to say thanks for joining me, Huck. How you doing?
Doing good. Appreciate you
Good,
having
good. Yeah, well, I want to say I've gotten to know you just especially in the past couple of weeks here. We've been planning this and talking about a whole heap of other things as well. And I really want to celebrate you a bit. You're not one to toot your own horn, but you got a lot of humility, a lot of love, a lot you want to give to. So, guys, this is going to be a really valuable opportunity here. And I'm looking forward to more as well, Huck. I think there's going to be more opportunities for this sort of thing.
me. Absolutely. Yep.
So, I want to hear the whole story. You've probably told a number of times before, but before that, you've won a number of awards for sales. You've done very well for yourself and quite quickly too. So you've been, started 10 years, but those awards came quite early on. We'll get into that, but just as you reflect, what would you say is the most unexpected contribution to your success? There's kind of the classic things of always learning, always reading, but is there anything really stands out as I didn't realize that would be so helpful over the years?
Hmm. That's a good question. Um, with that being said, I would have to say that having to learn to adapt to everybody's personalities, as far as everyone is different, and when you step into their homes, it's you having to understand those folks that has allowed you to come into their homes. And coming up as an individual, you're pretty much who you are, and you can still carry a cord to where you can be who you are with these homeowners, but the personalities you have to adapt.
Sure.
And I would have to
Okay.
say that was quite different for me.
So there's being yourself, but then there's emphasizing kind of different aspects and being considerate because not everyone responds to the same things the same way. And that plays a much bigger role than you realized in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I I grew up in calling yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, and even out there, darling, and you got all these different words and expressions. But I've come from South Georgia out here to California, and it's different. I can say yes, ma'am, or something like that, and they may say, don't call me that. It's makes me feel older than what I am. And I respect that. And so even though I was raised where, you carry those manners, you carry that respect, but that doesn't apply to everyone. Everyone's not the same. So yeah, I would have to say that.
That's interesting, especially as you talk about the state differences as well, or even just countries as a whole. Of course, you can hear my accent and your accent very different over here in Australia. So, but we'll talk more about that. That's an interesting point, and how that affects the the service call you go on or when you're going into their homes. And we'll get into that further. But how about we start from the beginning? What got you into the HVAC industry? Because I remember you saying you were in some sort of retail job beforehand, right?
Yeah, I were. The so what I when I got started in HVAC, it goes back a little bit further than the initial startup of me getting innovative HVAC. I was raised where My parents, they were successful entrepreneurs, so I had that background. Um, and it led to me becoming involved in retailing. And retailing, it's dealing with your clients. And I don't like using the word customer because I take my clients very personal. They I go and build that relationship. They are just not a number to me. And it got to the point to where I wanted to spend more time with my clients, build that relationship with them. And the reason why I chose HVAC is I lost my mother in 2011. And I lost her. I blame mold. And
Okay.
yep. I lost my dad 2010. She stayed in her bedroom quite a bit. And it turned out she had mold in the wall at the head of her bed. Well, my mom come down sick and we put her in the hospital and all. And her caretaker was a very good friend of mine. He was a registered nurse. And outside of work, he came to me. He's like, I want to talk to you about your mom there, Huck. Said she's got a rare strain of pneumonia. And they took her to the hospital. Well, one thing led to another. Um, it she didn't come home. And it's I was like, this is something pretty serious. And I want to be able to help others in regards to this. I didn't know anything about no HVAC at the time or anything else. Well, those two paths cross path. Want to try to figure out do something to help others in comparison to losing mom. Me getting out of the retail side and wanting to be able to build that relationship one on one with my clients.
Sure.
Those paths cross. Well, with that being said, I remembered my dad and my uncle. When my dad died in 2010, my uncle, he stepped up and become like a fatherly figure to me. Well, with that being said, they both told me that there's good money in heating and air conditioning in the HVAC side. So I got to the point to where I was working, you know, doing my own stride and everything else, as far as income coming into the house and all for me and my wife. Well, it wasn't fully paying our bills. And it got to the point to where me and her, we had to have a discussion to where I had to figure something else out. So with our paths crossing there, remembering what my dad and my uncle said about heating and air conditioning, I started looking into becoming an HVAC technician. This here was in 2015.
Okay.
And I actually got in touch with a company to where they they introduced me into heating and air conditioning. And I didn't go to no special schools or anything else to get started. I learned hands on. Um, Pretty much went through a class, their class in their warehouse for a day. And it seems like the next day, they's like,
You
here's a
you're
truck,
out there.
here's part. So I had to learn hands on. The strength that carried with me is actually wanting to take care of my clients. And I just started applying to that as I was learning the technical side, and it
Yeah.
just started to develop.
I, so one of those connections makes a lot of sense to me, and the other one does too, but less so. And so I'll ask you about it. So you're in retail, and where you kind of maybe you already knew you had this ability, but you're able to connect with people, right? And that's part of the building the relationship with them. Now, in certain industries or in certain places, you've got bosses that don't like, you wasting time uh, talking and not necessarily making money through that process. And so HVAC you saw as kind of an opportunity for that because the relationship building side is really important. Um, but you still can get some business owners that will say that we'll try and get you in and out of the house pretty quickly, which we'll talk about. So that makes sense where the relationship building side, you're coming into people's homes that, you need to be ready to connect with them. And so that's why you prefer seeing them as a client, not just a customer where there's a financial transaction. Um, how does the mum thing kind of connect into that? So you're saying there was mold in the wall. She's, that's obviously affecting her health in the big way. Is it that you're, the comfort of a home, and making sure it's cool enough for people during those really hot seasons, that there's kind of an overlap there, or were you seeing a different paths crossing, as you said?
IQ, indoor air quality.
And
With that, I look at it to where if I can go in there and offer, you know, recommendation to where it'll help far as keeping their home pure of germs, bacteria, that is, I felt like I was helping them to overcome what mom had. If she would have had this equipment of today's times, then which they had them,
can
but
measure it in the air and know what's going on.
and I would be able to, if I knew about it, possibly my mom, how I look at it, my mom could possibly still been here with me today. Um, so if I can help the homeowners have an understanding of what is out there that could help them purify their air, um, keep their home clean, um, not from these germs and this bacteria and everything from there, it's my way of giving back and to be able to help them not be put in a situation to where me and my mom had already went down. So,
Sure.
I look at that indoor air quality, and
Right, right.
that's
And
what
where there's
drove.
just kind of that end, part of the big end result there of maintaining that for them. And so we'll keep going on this story, but as people are listening to this, there would be some who really get what you're saying, I think, in terms of having almost this major motivator to really serve, really connect, really know that you're helping this person, you're not just selling them an air conditioning unit. But what would your encouragement to be, say, like younger guys or even older ones that maybe are not fully appreciating what you're saying? And so, for instance, one of the things I can envision someone saying is, you know, Huck, that feels a bit dramatic, you know, to, you know, you're seeing that your mum in this. And and why do you think that is that some people would feel that way? And what would your encouragement be to them of why it's valuable to really take this that seriously, if you know what I mean?
Because I would have to look at them and I can understand them not being able to relate because they've not been able to they've not, and thankful enough, had been able to walk down that path. You know, they've not been able to live it. But in the same sense, you're you're in this industry for a reason. With that reason, it may be the financial end of it. You're in this career to be able to, make that good income. Well, with you making that great income, why not to be able to go out there and help others be able to be better? I mean, it, it's it could be all the way around win-win-win situation. You're winning financially, taking care of your family. You're winning to be able to take care of people that is someone's loved ones. And why not look at both parties and to be able to figure out a way to bring those together? And it could be a win all the way around for you. Just what I would suggest to others out there is don't be so close-minded.
Sure.
Keep an open heart, keep an open mind, and you may be surprised the direction that you go in by doing so. So,
Mhm.
even if you've not been able to witness, and you may say that it's dramatic, well, for me, it's not because it was a heartache,
It was
it was a
real.
pain
It
that I
it
went
was
through.
real, and that's actually what happened.
That's actually
Uh,
what happened, but for you, wouldn't you want the best for your family? Would you want to be able to take care of your family not only financially, but also their health-wise? Well, you're in that driver's seat to be able to deliver and to be able to help others to better themselves as well.
right. Well,
So,
maybe now's a good time to mention, and we'll get to it, but do you just wanna say and help us understand a bit of, um, kind of the achievements you've made in the industry? Because as we said earlier, quite early on, you did, win some awards, for HVAC, sales, and so what yeah, because a lot of what we're talking about here was a contributor to that. And so I think when people hear what you've achieved, that actually might get them to say, oh, there's something to that. So do you mind sharing what those things were and how they came about?
absolutely, yes. 2015, I got started in the trade, didn't know jack squat about any of it other than it provide cold air, but also fairly shortly after that and getting involved in it, I was able to understand the full spectrum of it. And I kept that open mind and I was able to grow. To me, anyone that is closed minded, you're deceiving yourself. So I kept that open mind and I was able to grow until 2017. I become in the top three far as top performers in the Airtime 500 far as nationwide board. And
And that was
it's
for the turnover, right? Annually.
right, yes.
You'd been able to get done in 12 months.
Yep, I was able to get that, and I become number 3, and people didn't understand why I had gained that level of success in such a short period of time. Well, it's because I did keep that open mind. I did want to grow. I truly wanted to help people. I wanted to, do everything I could to be able to understand the career that I was going down. And yeah, it's it allowed me to be able to be reached or reaching others in such a way to where I was able to build those relationships because I cared for them. And,
Mm. Yeah, it
you
sounds like
know
you had a major motive. You kept an open mind, a major motivator in terms of, well, two major motivators. You wanted something where you could connect with people, but also
Mhm.
really help people too, and their homes. Just yourself and finding about the mold and other things. You're seeing how significant a home is for that to be kind of cared for and maintained to the right level, and that led to some very short term, not yeah, very quick success.
Yeah, I was I was truly blessed. Yes.
Mhm. Great. And so what did everyone think? So you'd started HVAC, got into it. What was that like too? By the way, were they looking for someone like you with no HVAC experience? No. I was listening to another interview you did you had done, and they'd say like pretty much no bad habits, and they could teach you from fresh. How did you get that job? What was it that stood out to them about you? And what was their reaction then, like within 2 years when you're seeing these sorts of results?
Well, I went to work with a company in 2015. Mm, I didn't know anything about it. They was wanting somebody, that was green that didn't have any skill sets. They brought me on, and I still remember the owner, he sat down with me and in his office there, he looked at me, said, "Huck," he said, "your passion of wanting to help others is going to take you far." And I didn't think about that until just now, us just sitting here talking about it. He's like he told me, he said, "It's gonna take you far." He said, "Don't be surprised if you don't have companies offering you all kind of things, just trying to get them on board and wanting you to come to work with them." It's like, "But whatever you do, don't lose your passion of wanting to help others." And I honestly, Ethan, I didn't think about that until just now. And I was like, I remember that conversation with you asking these questions. It was allowed me to dig in there and remember these. And some people, whenever I've gained that level of success in such a short period of time, they didn't understand it. No. And I didn't limit myself. I went after it. I learned. I've rode with books in the passenger side to where I was constantly learning. I seen others that was successful. I was asking qualifying questions. Hey, what got you to this? And it allowed me to become a a level to where, I can say that I was proud of. In fact, whenever I got that honor with the company that I got, they come in, they honored it to me and everything else, and all the technicians was sitting around. And there is a lot of a lot of pressure being applied to the technicians. You gotta do step A, B, C, D in order to get to E. And I wasn't never that individual. And this company, they was kinda going down that direction, and it was like a robotic system. You gotta do this, 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 this. And they handed that over to me, and it's like, what made you become, this top performer and everything else?" And they really didn't like my answer because I done things my way, and I told them, I was like, "Well, when you're yes, there is a time to be sitting at the table with the client and everything else. I'm not taking anything from that at all. But what they didn't understand is if I was there and doing a diagnostic or on a system or even a maintenance on a system that is outdated, and if it was in the middle of July when it's the hottest, I didn't want that client sitting there at that table. I wanted that client standing out there with me at that condenser. I wanted that individual realizing that they're looking at an old, rusted, outdated system here that has failed with them or possibly failed with them in a uncomfortable temperature as it was outside. Because it is the homeowner's decision what they want to do. Nobody knows where their finances is sitting at. They don't know they don't know what's going on within the home.
Mm.
But if you allow to be able to take that homeowner, your client, by the hand, walk them in the direction of allowing them to acknowledge and realize and accept everything that's going on, the uncomfort, the possibility of the equipment failure, or the equipment already failed, the being outdated. It allowed them to be able to realize, yes, this here, what he's saying to me is making sense. I understand this. We need to do something. And
Sure.
that
So
where
so it's not just like an ultra commitment to helping them, but then also this ultra commitment to the truth. You're like, and the truth takes educating sometimes. Like
Mhm.
people are not, you know, informed necessarily unless there's like a really obvious problem that's occurred. How have you gone on that educating front? So it sounds like you've naturally kind of been very skilled in connecting with people, building that relationship, and I'd kind of like to hear your advice on that in a little bit. and how you encourage others to move in that direction if they feel themselves lacking in it. But before that, how do you go with that education front when you're sitting down with them, you're explaining things? Because not everybody, I guess, what do you do when they're not interested? They just want you to come in, give them the bottom line, and maybe they're a bit dismissive. Like, do you have any strategies to try and get the conversation going so they are interested? How do you maneuver that when that happens?
When you go into a home, and you will find that they just want you in there, get the job done, and get out. But with that being said, you've also got to adapt and figure out a way to be able to pull them in, still give them the respect of, because you don't, like I said, it goes back to their time frame. They may be needing to have a meeting here in an hour, a business meeting. You don't know what's going on with them. And really, it's none of your business. Your business is there to be able to help them at that moment. So, with that being said, you have to adapt and ongoing, but keep them involved as much as possible. Allow them, instead of you build up a case to where you could take it back to that table and sit down with your client at that time to deliver this bill, have them involved with it in that ongoing procedure. you know, have them involved here. There's different things that you could do. Have the homeowner turn on the thermostat, have the homeowner, while you're changing out the filter, holding on to your clipboard. Let your notes be there because you ain't got a thing to hide. Let all this go on and just keeping them involved. But you're progressing through it and you're eliminating steps with the same end results. Because if that homeowner is involved, you don't have to worry about, you know, explaining everything at the end because they are already involved and they can understand it as they progress through it. Now, every homeowner, they're not interested in wanting to be part of it, be involved in everything else. But ask them up front, do you mind? I understand that you've got something that's limited time frame here. With that being said, can you help me progress as we're going through the service call? You know, that way, I can explain it to you at that moment and everything else. A lot of them, yes, absolutely. I'll help you and you take them down that road. If they don't have the time to be able to, you give them a detailed or be able to help you or be able to sit with them after the call, it's okay to reschedule that call
Mm-hmm.
because you want your job to be done as it should be. You are rendering a service. You don't want to limit yourself to where you can't do your job as it should be. And if you explain it to that client to where, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I want to be able to deliver a service here to where you may have never even seen this type of service, or it may be something to where, Mr. and Mr. Jones, I want to deliver a service. I want to do the job. I've got a conscience knowing that I've done the job like it should be done. You're paying for it. It is your time. If now's not a good time, Mr. and Mr. Jones, when would be a good time for me to come back out here to where we do have this window to where I can, take care of your system?
Take the time that's needed to.
Take your time that's needed to.
And I think that, you're gone.
Yeah. With that being said, you've done several things there with that. You've shown that homeowner you respect their time frame. Secondly, you've shown that homeowner that you are truly wanting to do your job, that they are paying for, and in the best you can in the full spectrum of what is needed in order to do that job. 3, you've already now meted and greeted that homeowner. They know you. That's just another step in building that trust. So absolutely, if they don't have that time and explain it to them up front, when's a good time for me to come back out here with you? And then
that's what I was about to say, that actually the very act of doing that leaves a different impression on people where they don't see this money hungry person that just wants to get in, get out and try and squeeze as much out of them as they can. It's again, it's putting that commitment to helping them first and connecting with them first. So yeah, I can see that, in the long run, playing a big role, which may be good to talk about. The impact on the long term, as we were saying, what's your advice to let's start with the business owner and then kind of go down, because I can see a lot of time being kind of extra time being invested to build this relationship and build this connection. And if you're needing to re-go to people's houses because you're rescheduling, that's one thing. But even while you're there, it sounds like you're spending extra time. So for you, how long are you spending? Do you think? How long do you want to give yourself to connect? How long are you spending in each home? And what's your advice to how would you encourage a business owner to think about that time when, they're kind of maybe looking at numbers and getting worried that, that not enough, too much time is being spent here and that we need to be, getting through more calls and
Well, with that being said, I would look at your home, the business owner, and I would have to ask them: Are they looking at a short term goal, or are they looking for a long short term? And they're turn and burn. You're to me, you're not delivering a service that should go hand in hand with a service that is in the HVAC industry. To me, a service is a service being rendered to the homeowner that they're paying for. There is going to be some jobs that will take less time than others, but in the long term spectrum of it, the long term goal is to be able to have that long term revenue coming in to be able to say that this company is the right company for me. You know, I remembered that company. Um, and this is the reason why I remember that company. Well, also, that will actually spread out as well by word of mouth. And you're not even looking at the marketing, the cost of the marketing to be able to come in, to be able to do what just that extra amount of time being delivered can do for you. So you
Mhm.
got a long-term relationship with them that they'll want to do return business with you. You got a spectrum of marketing with it. So how
The
much are
word
you
of
paying
mouth.
for
Yeah.
marketing? How much are you
Yeah.
doing for advertising? Just from just few more dollars, you're taking care of your client like you should be, but also you've got somebody out there that's doing marketing for you. So, you
That
know,
is a good way to see it. Yeah.
yeah, so you're taking the money away from your marketing by delivering a service in which they will remember you for. Now, let's go back and revisit that short term to where, you know, what is that short term? What is the scope of short term do you consider for a technician putting into a home? Is it 30 minutes? Is it an hour? 2 hours? Well, if it's 30 minutes, you're missing a whole lot in that 30 minutes to where it could be revenue that's being made for you right there on that same job. When a technician steps into a home, they need to look at two directions. One is the technical side. Second is the relationship being built with the homeowner. You've got to give time allotted for both of it. Even though that it's all at the same time as you're doing one, you're doing both. But when you're up in an attic working on a furnace, guess what? That's time for technical. But when you're sitting down or you're introducing yourself, you're walking through and checking temperature split throughout the home, perfect time to have that homeowner involved. You build that relationship with that homeowner. Also, it allows that homeowner's mind to be triggered that they are doing something here for me. I'm seeing value in it. That homeowner doesn't know what you're doing up there in that attic. You could be up there taking wrenches and banging it on the cabinet for all they know. But if they can see it, it allows them to be able to, their senses come into play. They can hear it, They can see it, they can smell it. It's all hand in hand and it builds that value. So,
Mm,
company, if you're in for it for the short term, I wouldn't even put your money into it. If you're looking for something long term to where you can build a legacy, be able to build that company up to where they are comfortable, you're comfortable financially, you can take vacations, you can knowing that that company is rolling in itself and it can take care of itself,
mm.
that's going to take time.
Right.
What is your plan? So
Yeah. No, I see that. So because there's a number of really important things you just said there. So there's 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 the there's the marketing side of it where they're actually building a relationship, the word of mouth possibilities that come with that. They're representing your company. Um, it sounds like a big part is actually just making sure you're communicating the value of what the company and that technician is actually providing to the client. And something that's of value doesn't necessarily get communicated in 30 minutes. But then even just simply the revenue opportunities as well. So you're saying, if you're only giving them half an hour or even an hour, say, to be in the home, they there's all sorts of things they miss. One, revenue opportunities with the technical side. I like those two categories. The technical side of actually finding um, things that need to be replaced, things that need to be fixed, or things that could be added. But then there's the relational value that you're communicating, where there may just be other things that they want to do or they want you to look at, but because you didn't give the space and time for them to ask you about it or feel that they could ask you, you actually end up missing out on that opportunity. Uh, in marketing, we often, everyone cares about ROI, the return on investment. But another huge factor, kind of number that's used is LTV, the lifetime value of a client. And so you're right, people have spent all this money on marketing to get the leads and get the calls, but then completely underservice it by not allocating enough time. Um, Another thing that's coming to mind that maybe you could speak to is the way that impacts the service technician themselves going in, when they know, if they've got this thing in the back of their mind that they have to answer to a team leader or a boss that's really time stressing them on how they're using their time, then that's going to impact the way they're connecting with the client because they're worried about just trying to be quick. Whereas if they know that they've got the flexibility to spend, how much time do you spend when you're heading into a home? How much time do you like to make sure you have on
I
average?
like spending my time with my clients and everything, doing everything. It takes me about 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yep.
So if they know they've got the flexibility to spend 2 hours, dotting the I's and T's technically, communicating, educating, connecting with the client. I mean, I can just see the technician making the connection will be better because they don't have the stress of being rushed and needing to get to the next call because you've crammed so much into their calendar for the day.
Right. Well, the talking about your calendar being full is I completely agree with you on that. A homeowner, they aren't ignorant and they aren't stupid. They can see through your emotion. They can see through your physical that you're you're strapped for time and you're not allotting the time to be with them to take care of them. That decreases from their value. And a lot of times with technicians, and I'll ask, and I've asked companies and I've asked technicians, where do you see a service call starting from? And I've gotten answers back from the time of when I walking up to the home to, it just, there's a broad spectrum there. But a company is a team that lasts throughout, you know, and it's a continue ongoing relationship. The initial startup of a service call needs to begin at the time that has allowed that homeowner something, whatever it may be, to trigger their mind into thinking that I need to call this company and to have them out take a look at my HVAC. You have started building that service call up from that moment then. You're building something from where it's triggered their mind to where they want to do business with you up to whenever they call the customer service representative uh, or client service representative. The it's the CRM actually takes care of them, ensures them that they're going to be taken care of. Our company is the right company in order to be there for you, to be able to be there with you and everything. Then it continues going on to where the day before a technician, you know, they go to bed early, they get a good night's rest, they get mentally and physically prepared for that following day. With that being said, it goes from there to where they get up, they dress professional, they look clean, neat, just really well groomed, which relays in their mental as well.
Mhm.
Then it goes to the vehicle to where, and I'm hoping I'm going this path that's answering your question. It goes to their vehicle to where it's clean, it's organized, it's neat, because that there will portray to the homeowner, and I'll get to that in a minute, but it's going to portray something to that homeowner. You get your call, you understand that call, you relate to that call. You look at it. To me, I've always looked at homes. I would even go on Zillow, look at their square footage. I would do my notes before I stepped into that call. Whenever I got to that home, well, as you're being dispatched to that call, I would always call my clients as well to introduce myself. As I introduce myself, I'll do one thing that will actually, it kind of trigger something with them, and you'll hear a chuckle from them. And that's what I'm shooting for. I'll ask them, it's like, I'm the technician that's coming your way. I want to introduce myself. Is there anything that you need for me to pick up, grab for you, or anything as I'm coming out? You'll hear them chuckle like, no, we're good. And I'll just waiting on you. It's like, all right, well, I'll be there in this such time.
Have you had anyone say yes? Please pick up the milk.
I have not. I have
You
not.
have not.
I would have. I mean, I would have. But then I would pull up properly, according to the time that I gave them. I'd pull up in front of the house. Now it's going back to that vehicle being clean and everything else. You get out. You don't sit in your vehicle a few minutes and all. You get out. You allow that bodily, that physical excitement, that joy, that just showing to that homeowner that you're happy to be there. You park in front of them. They see you. They see the van. Now it's sugaring to them that it's legit. You're coming well dressed. You don't have a bunch of stuff laying all over your dash and everything else. It's all clean and everything else. And you go up there and you knock. So there is a process, and I'm completely. I'm sounds like I'm getting away from your question, but I just
No, you're good. You're good. I wanted to talk about the sales experience process. What I find interesting is there are so many unrewarded tasks or practices. So, for instance, a clean car, like the dashboard in the front, everyone can see through the mirror, see through the windscreen. No one notices it when it's clean. you know, it's just clean, right? So they don't notice. It's a very unreal. But when it's got fast food there and wrappers and tissues or tools, they see that. Like your eye just goes to it, and they may not. It may not bother them, like kind of consciously, but at the very least, it's having a subconscious impact on the way they are valuing you, but also the way they see you valuing them. And so it's that idea of them being an unrewarded task always kind of, I don't know, feels like it could be a little bit of it's always sad. It's like, but no one ever, they just notice when you fail. They don't notice when it's good.
And let me ask you this here, Ethan. What if that client was to follow you to your van and they
Follow you,
see
the
they follow
truck
you
and the
through
back
windows
and
exactly, and they see
yeah,
all trash on the floorboard,
yeah, you just
everything else.
quickly cleaned it all and you just like shoved it at your feet, and then you had to invite them to the car, and well, that even has, and that's interesting, right? So I know a big thing for you that we haven't fully gotten to yet, and we will, is being true, being genuine, and being sincere. And so there's always kind of a face you can put up, right? So just before you're around the corner, before pulling up in front of their house, you like just do a big sweep of the dashboard and it's all in the passenger seat, right? There at the floor. And, they don't even noticing it, right? That you're clean, at least on that side. But then let's say you do have to invite them to the car at some point and you just open up the passenger seat because that's where your stuff is. And then suddenly they see all the mess that's hidden. It's almost like it's actually made it even worse because not only does the mess count against you, the cleanliness counts against you now because you tried to look clean and you weren't. And so
Yep,
now
open
that
up the
begins.
door and Gatorade bottle or something fall out on the floor, and you hear it bounce going.
It bounced all the way down the street. So that has, um, and they sound like little things, but when people are considering spending the kinds of money that's possible in the HVAC in HVAC. So I was listening to a podcast yesterday and people were sharing about the biggest ticket items they'd ever walked out of a home with. And we're talking tens of thousands of dollars, 35, 45, 49, I think was the number of I can't remember that if it was exactly, but it was around that size. So these are big high ticket items people are, writing a check out for. And when you see, you just think about that. How likely are you going to be able to turn over a potential, you know, $10,000 plus client to the comfort advisor with the Gatorade bottle bouncing down the driveway, and then you kind of like running after it to go pick it up. So yeah, and so back to I brought up your being true, genuine, and sincere. Um, it's not about having a good look. It's not about a clean dashboard. It's about actually being clean. It's not about looking genuine. It's about actually being genuine, which is literally like kind of the definition of the word. But sometimes it's hard for people to wrap their heads around that, where it's actually something you need to embody, not just present and communicate and do. Where did that being true, genuine, sincere really come from for you? I know we haven't actually spoken to it yet. That's a really important thing for you, I know, and you emphasize that whenever you're helping people head in this direction. Where did that come? Where did that? Where did you first formalize that in your mind?
I come up with that mindset early on, and it's one thing that is allowed me to climb that ladder. Is be true of who you are, be genuine of who you are, and be sincere of who you are. With that being said, be true is carry that honesty, carry that integrity. With that being said, just don't deceive your homeowners. Being genuine, be who you are mentally and physically. Don't be something that you're not, because homeowners will pick up on it and they will acknowledge it. They realize that you're fake. And be sincere. When you deliver something, be sincere when you're delivering it. Because, like I said earlier, you don't know where that homeowner is sitting at. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. So don't be selfish and greedy. Deliver what you want to deliver with sincerity and with compassion. So be true, same thing as being honesty and integrity. Be genuine, don't be something that you're not. Insincere, understand and deliver with passion. Understand your client and be
Yeah.
sincere when you're delivering, you know, the information that you're there to deliver. So
Right. Because
that's what it means to me.
sure. Well, because I when I was reflecting on those words when you first shared them, you know, they're very similar words. If you Googled them, there's probably, there's a level, some of them may even come up potentially as near synonyms of one another. Like, hey, you could just replace in a sentence, replace this with that. But you're not only are you trying to emphasize the idea that is overlapping there, but you kind of just brought out all the different nuances with the different, they're different words, right? So there is a difference from being true to being genuine, a difference from being sincere to being true. And so having all those pieces together has a huge impact. So then what do you say? How do you balance that with, let's say, the clean car example? And guys, if you're listening and you're wondering how this applies, like, it doesn't take a lot of thought to, we're talking about very specific scenarios of saying having a clean van and that sort of thing. But these principles literally apply everywhere through the sales process for the client, everywhere in business. Sorry, my Siri is saying hello. Um, the applies everywhere in business, even personally when you're connecting with people. And so don't think that this is, you know, just limited to a very select set of circumstances. This applies everywhere. But my question to you, Huck, which is so what do you say? So the business owner, okay, they're agreeing with you now. All right. Beforehand, they were like, I really wanted no more than an hour, in and out there quick, yeah, half an hour if that works. Now they've switched, let's say. They agree with you. Okay, I see the benefit in terms of marketing, revenue potential, building real value with the client, building those relations. I get it. All right. Now there's the business owner task of instilling that in the team and actually getting them to embody that. What do you say if someone's to be true, genuine, and sincere, and they come to you and say, "Look, I just keep my car messy. That's just how it works for me," you know. And no one's ever really going to make that excuse, in terms of their boss, anyone that's worth keeping around anyway. But
Mhm.
what's your, even if that's not the direction they incline, you're saying to embody something. How do you change what you're embodying? Let's say they are a bit ambitious and quick and just trying to get as many sales. How do you actually instill in them these values that you're talking about from a business owner perspective? I want my team to really practice this.
Well, to start with, as a business owner, you need to understand your team. You need to get to know your team. Just like every homeowner is different, every technician is different as well. Each technician goes to work for different reasons. If that technician is going to work to take, let's use this example. If that technician is going to work to take care of their family, okay, you're already there at that home. Why not go ahead and go the extra steps? Now that you've got the allotted time to do so, take the extra steps and make sure that you're delivering your job and your recommendations, sincerely recommending them to where you can bring more revenue coming in. What I would suggest to a business owner is to sit down and talk to your technicians. You know, find out if they're doing their procedures, the processes, and everything within that home like they should be. You'll see the numbers if you keep a good enough log on your technicians and what they're recommending and what type of service they're delivering. It'll tell you exactly what they're doing and not doing in a home. So look at that technician, get down, get to know them. If they come to you and say, I'm struggling in this area, why are you struggling in this area? Is it something that you're lacking? Is it that are you being overloaded? You know, get to know them. You know, find out what triggers your company. Your technicians out there, they will deliver, a whole lot better service if they can see that the company that they are representing truly cares for them. And with that being said, if they're lacking something, help them get it. Take up time for your employees. Show them that they're appreciated. Help them when they are down, and it'll help you get to where you want to get with your technicians. Get to know them.
Mhm. So it's interesting, right? So it sounds like, well, first, the business owner needs to truly, genuinely, sincerely embody what you're talking about. But then it's not just in relation to the clients. It's actually, if you are embodying that towards the team themselves, then there's almost just like this transfer. They are going, this sort of treat others the way you want to be treated. But also you are much more, if you've just come out of a business meeting and you feel really cared for, concerned for, that there's, they're aware of your struggles and trying to help you, um, you're going to want to do that with other people you're much more likely, much more apt to be doing that with others.
Let me
And
ask
yeah,
you this
sure.
there, Ethan. Have you ever heard the old saying, "Your team is only as good as your leader"?
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
It's right there.
And so if they can, and so really, if they can embody it, then ideally the team is going to catch that. I know you made a point on knowing, kind of tracking your team as well. So having all that information, I can see that being really important. So how long are they spending on each in each home? What are the recommendation? What are all the different recommendations they're making, and then what's the out of that? So having all that information um, is really helpful. So that's important. Um, what are some practical steps you would take to help the team understand it? So sitting down with them and talking with them is one thing, but is there any other things you've seen in companies or things you've done when you're out there with guys or coaching people, that kind of little things that move the needle? You know how we tell, like the car, keeping that clean. Is there anything you can suggest that's client facing? Is there anything team facing that you can suggest in that way to, uh, help business owners move in this direction?
Find out what your technician's strengths are in comparison to their weaknesses. The ones that's got the strengths, they may have weaknesses as well. You want a full, well-rounded team, but the ones that's got the strengths and ones that's got the weaknesses, sit down, have a, like old saying goes, knights of the round table. Pull everybody together, allow them to be able to witness and share the strengths, because this individual weakness may be, they may have a strength to where one of these over here that's got a strength may be their weakness. So allow everybody to come together. You'll actually find that the team will strengthen within themselves. They will bring, you know, eyesights to the table to where they can learn from each other. And it also will represent out there in the table, out there in the field, to where, all right, this individual here, we've already got this communication, we've got this here. I can call on this individual to help me through this because I know this here is their strength, just by
Hmm.
pulling everybody together and get to know it. Um, and you'll see that that triggers all the way around the board for everyone. Um, because like I said, one may be strength in this department, may be weak in this department. Pull together.
Right. So it's creating, not putting all the burden on yourself as the business owner or leader, or or maybe that particular department to actually do all the work. If you inspire a collegiate atmosphere where people don't feel like they're going to be belittled for asking questions and not knowing something. And so therefore, when they don't, they actually do ask, or they call someone, and they're being involved and they're being cared for. So they're caring for others. That collegiate atmosphere starts in the business, and then that's going to overflow out to the client side.
Absolutely, and then it's gonna do something else as well. It allows that business owner, that leader, because you're going to see there'll be 1, 2, maybe more that'll be kinda shy and kinda withdrawn from that group, and now as a leader, it is time to intervene with them one-on-one and talk with them and find out where they are uncomfortable at. And with that, you can help them build, grow, even blossom into someone that is a force out there in the field to reckon with. And then you can capitalize on their strength. With that being said, you're going to find out that they may feel uncomfortable being in that spotlight. Where, with that being said, how comfortable are they going to be in the realm of a unknown situation with that homeowner? So you can't be comfortable there with your team. How are you going to be comfortable in that home with your
Yeah,
client?
with a stranger you just met, and now you're in their home.
So now you're finding things to where you can work together and overcome them together. And it will show you as a team leader that these individuals is you're opening them up, and it portrays to them that you as a team leader, you're there to truly want to take care of them and help them, and it'll make them wanna do even more for you. So,
That's good. Well, that yeah, so that seems these seems like a lot of undergirding principles, like creating the right atmosphere, creating the opportunity and space for success, in terms of running a business and a team. And but what do you see? Maybe just let's do a real quick overview, and then we can break it down a bit more too. Because you asked a question earlier about sales process and where the sales process begins, or the client journey begins. What do you see as the major steps from that very beginning point in the client journey all the way to, they're becoming a repeat client, and they're coming back to you, you know each year for maintenance and stuff like that? What Most of that's at the beginning there, but what do you see are the core steps in the client journey? And we can dive deeper on those.
to me, everything needs to be a fluid process. There shouldn't be no highlights in that process. But if I
It
was to
all
say that
transitions.
it should be a full just transition, just a flow forward. But if I was to have to say the highlights is the marketing aspect where to deliver to that homeowner that cause them to want to do business with you, to the customer service representative, client service representative, the CRM, delivering that comfort to them that we are the company there for them, to delivering of the time the technician gets there, delivering that mental and physical aspect that I am the right technician for you, to building that relationship with that client to where they want to do repeat business with you. And then at the very end, keeping that relationship with that client after the call as well. So I would say that would be your 5 steps, but it should transition from one to the next.
It should be seamless. It's not like
Exactly.
an abrupt change. There's this seamless flow. So yeah, they've seen some sort of marketing that's caused them to reach out, spoken to a customer service representative, or a client service representative, and they've got to the point of booking something. And so service technicians coming out there. Um, run us through that handoff as well to say a comfort advisor and then what that looks like afterwards. And then even bringing them back around in say 6 months time, a year's time. What if we broke that down a little bit further, what do you see as
The
parts there?
service technician over to the
Yeah,
company.
both. Yeah, yeah. So both like getting those extra, finalizing that initial job and everything, and then post that, which was kind of your step five of keeping the relationship going, what you do in 6 months time, 12 months time to, yeah, keep that going.
So with that being said, they need to have a maintenance program. That's because there's two different ways that it could go there. They've got a maintenance program. Ideal is to have that same client go back out there and visit the
Same
home.
service technician, same.
Yeah, it would in my side, it would be best that that
They're
same one
talking with the
because
same
that
person.
homeowner is already familiar with it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in the same sense, now keep this in mind, in the same sense, if that same technician doesn't go out there, it also allows the homeowner, to realize that those favorable attributes that that homeowner sees in that particular technician, if there's another technician that comes in and delivers similar favorable attributes that that homeowner likes, now, well, a couple of things there because I mean, it can trigger out all different ways here. You're seeing two things there. All right, the homeowner gets to realize that there's two technicians now that they really care about, that they really like. So they got comfort there. Another comfort with the homeowner as well is perhaps this company is
He
the right
knows it.
for me
Right. I see. It's
because
almost building a relationship with the company now rather than that person. And so there's a balance you want to strike there because they like that person. And this is where the whole team pulling their weight is really important, right?
it's very crucial.
Hmm.
So absolutely. So yeah, and
What would
then
you, yeah, how would you judge that? Is that, let's say maintenance plan, people are coming, however frequently it the, is it the same service technician? Is it, yeah, what would your suggestion be? Is it if you've got confidence that everyone on your team can hold the bar, you don't worry about sending the same person out? Or, yeah, is there any choices to be made there actively?
ideal is to have the same technician go back out there. Because then not only are you building that relationship, but this is getting to where it's a first name basis. But everything doesn't play out that way. It doesn't align that way to where the technician is the same technician that goes out there every single time. Just it's the nature of the being. It doesn't happen all the time. But in the same sense, if you've got a full rounded team, that homeowner can see that the company is legit. They truly, what they are
So it's not a
like.
complete loss if you can't maintain the same,
Oh, it
yeah,
shouldn't.
because the no, no, right, good, yeah, and so that well that's good. I wanna transition a little bit and talk about, just as we finish up here, on as you reflect on your whole journey, because you one of the things you've said is you're always learning. Always
Always.
got a book in the passenger seat. You've always got people you can go to ask and learn things that, especially in the moment, if you come across something that you need help with. What's the biggest shift you've had over the last 10 years, would you say? As in something you believed at the very beginning, or earlier on, and now that belief is just completely different now after your experience. Is there any major shifts there?
Well, you mentioned major shift. My major shift would have to been from me being in the service side where to the point to where the doctors has taken me out of the service industry. And I've had to start focusing on the sales side now. More so. I mean, I've transitioned, but there was um, here not too long ago. There was about a couple of years that I wasn't in the HVAC industry at all, and it's I was hungry because I was missing it, and I miss being in the homes with my clients. I miss helping the technicians. I missed it all the way around. And things has opened up to where I could get back in the industry and not on the full spectrum as it was, but I've had to change from the service side to where I'm at now, where I'm my own subcontractor. So I've had to make transitions along my time, but it seems like what I was delivering back when I was in the service industry is still what is being needed today.
Well, yeah, so that core creating connection, providing value, being true, genuine, and sincere in that process um, hasn't. Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, because like we said before, those things sort of apply in all areas of life. Um, is there any is there any really hard parts to that that people need to be prepared for? Um, like just hard realities or kind of maybe unexpected obstacles if you're seeking to really create that connection, really give that value. What what should people be? Is there anything people really need to be prepared for?
What I would say far as carry your core value with you, um, but with my situation, which isn't the case for every situation, I was on a house and then it seemed like the very next day, doctor said, no more ladders. And so when it comes to that, look out for your health because people doesn't understand far as the technicians, far as the labor that goes into it, you know, climbing in these attics that's 200 plus degrees or crawling under these houses. It's it will take a physical toll on you, and live every minute that you possibly can to the fullest and be prepared for the hard times as well. In the industry, speaking of hard times, there's there's slow times, shoulder seasons, spring and the fall. Learn how to adapt to those and you can still be successful, so there's different ways that that can be achieved as well. So, yeah.
Right. That's a good, we spend so much time talking about marketing, sales, different strategies and how all that connects together. But for service techs and for business owners,
Mhm.
like looking out health wise just for yourself. No, that's important to remember.
One thing that I would say with I mean, you talked about this, Ethan, is that what I would tell, business owners in the service industry, the technicians, is get to know your core value. And a lot of people, they say, you know, lead with your heart. And to me, your heart is your core. Don't never change your heart, of truly wanting to take care of someone, truly being able to want to be that individual, just has that compassion, has that genuine heart for others. In the service industry, if you can have that heart to where you truly care about others and you want to help them, you got to take you a long ways. If you're going to alter or modify anything, let it be your mind. Because when I say that, it's just like we mentioned at the very beginning of this conversation, is your mind is what has to adapt to each and every individual's personality. Every person that home that we go into is they're going to be different. That is let your mind modify itself and adapt to their lifestyle. but don't never change your heart. Don't never allow your heart.
That is where we started. It was really the kind of core goals, but then core motivators for those goals as well. It's like, why is that worth doing and pursuing? And so you shared about your mum and other things. But yeah, no, that's a helpful connection to think the way you're thinking in the moment, to be able to shift and adjust and modify to the situation at hand. That those core goals, motivations, desires, that those are set. Be resolved on what they are.
Mhm.
I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, it is.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, no, that's good. That's really good, Huck. I normally like to ask at the end, kind of one big takeaway message. If all people heard was this, and they did it 100%, what would you say? But I think I can already guess what it would be, and you can say it for us if that's
Well, just like what I just said about your core values in comparison to your mental stability and adapted to the lifestyles, never change your heart. Let your heart be that core value of truly wanting to be there. It's either take care of your clients or taking care of your family
yeah,
or even care of
yeah,
yourself. With that also being said, the second thing that I would say is be true, be genuine, and be sincere. Carry those three values with you as well. And just like you said, not only in the service, but in your life in general. Don't be something that you're not. So that's what I would say. Um, Everything else you can learn, you can grow, you can develop as you progress.
right. But you need to be really resolved in that, and there's a ROI and LTV to be had in all areas of life, not just in the spreadsheets and in the profit and loss of a business. So, nah, really good, Huck. Look, there's a lot of values here. I think that we've spoken about that I think often get missed for the more flashy things. Um, there's little nuanced strategies that people can implement to be able to get some extra cash flow going here or build more of a relationship here. But this has really been almost like a foundation. Like, if you don't have a lot of these pieces that we spoke about, then it kind of doesn't matter all the tricks you pull out, all the rabbits you can pull out of a hat, and all the tricks you come up with. That lifetime value, that lifetime connection, that long-term business is really going to come from and be defined by a lot of these things. So yeah, it's been great talking, Huck. I appreciate the time. I'm sure we will get to do this again at some point in the future.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we'll see everyone around for the next episode.
All right, there, brother. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks, Huck.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.